I think it's important that we recognize that as Democrats and Republicans, we do share much in common with the business that's before us here today. We recognize that these are unprecedented times. We recognize that there is indeed a public health emergency. But I think at the same time, we need to begin the process towards normalcy. The bill before us would suggest that there is a yes and there's a no, that the light switch is on or it's off, that there is no middle ground, there is no room for nuance, there is no room for detailed thought. I believe differently, and that is what this bill suggests. Now, to be clear, my comments here today and the comments you'll hear from others, they're not a commentary on or indictment of the governor's executive orders. They're not that at all. They're a commentary on the process. They're a commentary on the will of the people, and just as importantly, the voice of the people. I believe we can chart a path toward normalcy, and I believe it needs to begin today. I don't believe that is what the bill before us does. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I would offer an amendment. It is LCO 6072. I ask that the clerk please call that amendment and that I be given leave to summarize.
Will the clerk please call LCO number 6072, designated Amendment A. I would like the clerk please call the amendment.
House Amendment Schedule A, LCO number 6072, offered by Representative Candelora, Representative Devlin et al.
Representative Perillo, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I alluded to previously, what this amendment does is begin us on a path to normalcy. It recognizes the state we're in today. It recognizes the state of public health here in Connecticut, but it charts a course. Section 1 of the amendment allows the civil preparedness emergency to expire on April 20th while extending and recognizing the public health emergency and moving that forward to May 1st. Sections 2 through 5 of the amendment address a number of statutory changes. They define a serious disaster that excludes pandemic disease. For a civil preparedness emergency declaration, it limits the initial duration to 30 days. In order to extend, it can be done by 30 days at a time, but by 2/3 vote of this legislature. It differentiates between a civil preparedness declaration and the declaration of a public health emergency. It limits that initial duration to 30 days and may be approved by 2/3 vote of the legislature. In order to extend that public health emergency declaration, again, 2/3 vote of the legislature. And in terms of executive orders, which I believe this body should be reviewing, it allows disapproval by a majority or approval by a majority of legislative leaders, the 6, and orders under a public health emergency by a committee of 10, so those leaders including the leaders of the Public Health Committee. Section 6 requires a committee of legislative leaders in consultation with the governor to review all active executive orders and report their recommendations to the full legislature by April 15th, and states that the full legislature must approve or reject those recommendations by a 2/3 vote no later than April 21st. Again, Mr. Speaker, this is not a commentary on the governor's executive orders. What it is doing is giving this legislature the opportunity to lead, the opportunity to move us toward normalcy, a process. Take responsibility and do the things that we need to do, the thinking that we need to do to ensure that this state is moved forward appropriately. And I would move that amendment, and I would urge my colleagues to support it.